Alright, hello everybody. So we are going to go through 1.3 day 1 notes. And recently we've been solving equations with variables on one side, but today we're going to switch it up and have variables on both sides. Alright, so let's start. When solving linear equations with a variable on both sides, you must collect all variables to one side of the equal sign. And you do this by using inverse operations. Remember SAT. Inverses. Okay? You're going to hear me say, get all the variables to one side. That's what I'm talking about. Collect all the variables, move it to one side of the equal sign. Alright, so let's go through an example that we've already done so far the last 2 days. The first thing we have to cancel is adding and subtracting, so I'm going to write SAD math up here. Okay? 3 is being added, so the inverse is subtracting 3, and whenever I do to one side, again, I have to do the other. That negative 2x drops down. 3 plus a negative 3, that cancels. Drops down the equal sign. Then 13 minus 3 is 10. Okay. Then I'm just going to divide by negative 2 to get x by itself, and my one solution is x equals negative 5. Again, you should verify that by substituting negative 5 back into your equation to verify that equals 13. Okay. Now we're going to go to a problem with variables on two sides. Alright, see how there's there's negative 2x and 5x? They're on both sides of the equal sign. So what we're going to do is we're going to move either the variables to the left or the right. It doesn't matter which side they end up on. I always prefer to move the variable that's smaller. Okay, so I'm going to move negative 2x over to the other side. Well, in order to do that, we're going to add 2x to both sides. It's the opposite. Okay, I'm going to draw the line. Negative 2x plus 2x is 0. Drops down to 3 equals 5x plus 2x is 7x. Drop down to plus 21. If you notice, it turns into a problem that we've already done. Now it's just an equation with variables with one side. Alright, so I'm going to follow SAD math again and subtract 21 from both sides. 3 minus 21 is negative 18 equals 7x. Last step, divide by 7. So x is just going to equal negative 18 over 7. So it's just one extra step that we have to do. Just collect the variables first and then solve the equation like normal. Alright, so let's do some examples. The first thing we should always check for is can you simplify the equation before you start using inverse operations to solve. And when you notice, you have like terms, 3 plus 7. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. Always try to simplify first. So I'm going to drop down the 16 minus 3b, and that's going to equal negative 4b. 3 plus 7 is 10. Now I notice I have variables on both sides of the equation. Okay? Well, I'm going to move negative 4b over to the left because it's the smaller one. So I'm going to add 4b. I'm adding 4b because it's negative 4b up there to both sides. Drop down to 16. Negative 3b plus 4b is just 1b, but we don't need to put the 1. Okay. Negative 4b plus 4b is 0. Drop down to 10. Again, this just becomes an equation that we've been solving for the last couple of days. Subtract 16 both sides, get b by itself. B is going to equal negative 6. Again, if you want, check and substitute negative 6 into both sides of the equation to verify that that is the correct solution. Okay. Alright, in which, yep, negative 6. Alright, let's go ahead and do 1D. Now I'm going to try. Alright, the first thing I have to do again, try to see if you can simplify. And if you notice, you have like terms on the right-hand side. So I'm going to combine those. So I have negative 6 minus 8x is equal to negative 9x. Alright, now, do you see how there's just a variable on this side? Doesn't matter if that's the smaller variable or not, you're always going to move the variables to that side if it's alone. So I'm going to add 8x. Again, I'm adding 8x because it's minus 8x, so I have to be inverse. Okay. Negative 6 drops down. Negative 9x plus 8x is negative 1x. Now remember from the other day, we're going to divide by -1 to get x by itself. So 6 is going to equal x, which is our second answer. And this up here. Oh, sorry guys. Alright, so 1e. Again, I checked to see if I can combine like terms, which I can't. I can't simplify yet. So I'm going to go ahead and move k over to the left, because k is it has less k's on the right. Drop down the -2. 7k minus k is positive 6k, and that's going to equal -8. Okay? I'm going to add 2 to both sides, start getting k by itself. I'm left with 6k equals -6. The last step is divide by 6 to both sides, so k is going to equal -1, which is it. I'll give you a couple seconds if you're still writing it down. You can pause the video in the meantime to catch up writing, because I know I'm kind of writing a little fast. Alright, let's start with some decimals. Remember, we do the exact same steps, now we're just working with decimals, so it's important that you have your calculator out now. Alright, so let's start with an equation that we already know how to solve, when variable is on one side of the equation. Just like before, we always check to see if we can simplify it, and if you notice, you have like terms on the left side. So -3.0k plus 4.5k is going to equal 1.48k, and that's going to equal -1.036. I want to get k by itself, so I'm going to divide by 1.48k. Sorry, just by 1.48. And remember, whatever I do to one side, I have to do the other. K is going to equal, now when you put this, the whole thing in the calculator, you get -0.7. That should be a review since we've done that for the last couple of days. Okay. Alright, now we're going to do a problem with variables with two sides. Again, same thing. What you should do is always look to see if you can combine like terms. Simplify before you use SAGMAT. And if you notice on the right-hand side, you have like terms. You have 7.48x and -7.6x. You're going to combine those. So I'm going to drop down what I have on the left, 0.95x plus 2.805. When I combine those, I'm going to get -0.12x, and then drop down the plus 1.2. Now I'm going to try to collect the variables on one side. Now again, it does not matter what side the variables end up on. You can choose left or right. So I don't deal with negative numbers, I'm going to add 0.12x to both sides. Again, it's inverse. You're subtracting, it's negative, so it's opposite. And again, whatever I do to one side, I have to do the other. And I'm going to write it again right under that, the like term, so I know where to add them. 0.95x plus 0.12x. That's going to be 1.07x. Drop down the 2.805. -0.12, and I add the same thing. That's 0. That's what I wanted, and that's going to equal 1.2. I'm going to subtract 2.805 from both sides. I'm left with 1.07x. It's going to equal, oopsie, -1.605. Finally, at the last step, I'm going to divide by 1.07 to get x by itself. And x is going to equal -1.5. Alright. So it's a little bit more complicated with decimals, but again, you're following the exact same steps. Alright, let's do two example problems. Alright, first thing you do is check to see if you can simplify. And if you notice on the right-hand side, you can combine those terms. So I'm going to drop down everything on the left-hand side. And then 2n plus 6.5n is just going to be 8.54n. Now again, when I just have a variable on one side, no matter where I'm going to go, I'm always going to have my variables on the right-hand side, where the variable is by itself. Now, if the variable was by itself on the left, I would collect all my variables to the left. Okay, so I'm going to subtract 4.3n to both sides. This cancels out. I have 4.664, and that's going to equal 4.24n. Okay, 4.24n is being multiplied by n, so to cancel that out, I'm going to divide by 4.24. Okay, and on the left-hand side, you're left with 1.08. That's going to be your solution for n, and that's my first answer. Okay. Alright, let's go ahead and do 180. First thing you should do, again, like always, is check to see if you can simplify, if you can combine like terms. Notice on the left-hand side, you have like terms. When you add those two together, you're going to get 5.6x, and then you're left with 6.5x plus 2.25. Again, do you see how I have just a variable on this side? To avoid making mistakes that I see a lot, we're always going to collect the variables where that variable is by itself. So instead of moving everything to the right, I'm going to move everything to the left. So I'm going to subtract 6.5x from both sides. When I come back to class, I'll show you why. Just get you used to. It just helps that you don't make careless mistakes by doing this. So you're left with negative 0.9x is going to equal, that goes away, 2.25. Last step, divide by 0.9 to both sides. So x is going to equal negative 2.5, which that is my second answer.